Freestyle TV. For the first time ever, we're on schedule exactly 2 weeks after our last broadcast. I hope you enjoyed our last episode, and I sincerely hope that you also listened to the same show as a form of a podcast. Anyways, welcome, Daniel. How's it going, man?
What's up, man? What's up? What's up? Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm excited to be back. Many things has happened again since last time we spoke, and as you said, yeah, we're right on schedule because we promised each other, oh, we're gonna do this every 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
so far so good. And we already got other ones planned as well, but today's a big one, man. I'm excited because today's topic is a big one, isn't it?
Well, it is definitely one of the most important topics in freestyle since the start.
Yes. Yeah. If
Um,
if you look, sorry. Yeah, go on.
no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you look back in the last 10, 15 years, or as long as I can remember, there's always been discussions about what is the most important thing in freestyle. Is it what you do? Is it how hard you do it? Is it how does it look? And how important this is. And also, I think the whole concept of difficulty versus creativity is a topic that always comes back, no matter if it's 2 years ago, today, tomorrow, it will never end, which is kind of the fun of it, but it's
Yeah.
also the frustration of our sport. So that's why today we're going to discuss creativity.
Yes. Um, just just before we jump into the creativity,
Yes.
the latest news in the freestyle field. Bambi did a competition in Rome last weekend. I was watching. The level was pretty good, and the setup was pretty nice. I saw a lot of people there. It's like I'm feeling we're getting like to the past COVID era finally. It was a joy to see.
Yeah, it's a lovely with live event. It's so much better than online. I mean, online is fun, but it's not
Yeah.
the real thing. That real stage feeling. And
Yes.
I
Yes.
remember you and me were watching that thing in the beginning, and we saw
Yeah.
one bald guy. We were like, "He's not competing, is it?" No, he wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
A
he was just
lot.
warming. I think he was just there for the vibe, yeah, or maybe the
Yeah.
organizer or something like
But
that.
a lot of
So
the guys I saw, they were in Super Bowl this August.
yes, yeah,
So
that guy. I think it was at Super Bowl
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, and but it just tells that the freestyle scene is developing. More people are coming in, and and that's the way to go. Another thing before diving to the deep end, if you will, is we should catch up on the youth competition standings. So with the boys, we're in semifinals. We have Diego Emanuel from Brazil against Olivier Rey from Poland in the other semifinal. Now, this Brazilian Diego, I don't know so well, but Olivier Rey was in Super Bowl, and I think he was in top 5 or even top 3 in challenge.
I think so. Yeah, I think I remember he was on stage in the end, but I can't remember exactly his position.
Yeah,
But have you seen I don't know if you've seen the semifinals already. It's insane. Like the other semifinal between Champi from Japan and Marco
yeah,
from what is it, France,
France.
is insane, man. I mean, today we're going to talk about creativity, and not even creativity, but the style, the attitude, the confidence. Like these young guys are already so good, man. It's unbelievable. And
Yeah,
actually, not I'm saying the young guys, but the girls are phenomenal as well.
yeah, exactly.
So who
Then
are over? Can you check out who are the four last ones with the girls?
yes, getting there as we speak. So in the girls, the final four is Becca against Isabel, both from
Oh
UK.
yes.
Well, Becca we know, of course, from Super Bowl 2019. And
Hmm.
in the other semifinal, all Japanese semifinal is Hafuri Ito against Miu Ozaki.
Nice. Sounds good.
Yeah, it will be England versus Japan final. I can tell you that. In the
Yes,
girls.
definitely. Now I'm really looking forward to it. And maybe we can already give this away that around the final, we're going to do a very special episode of Freestyle TV as well. So stay
Yes.
tuned for that. So it is not going to be live battles, but we can announce live in Freestyle TV who will be the winner of the boys and the girls competition in the youth
Yeah.
competition. So
And
yeah, exciting times.
we can show the battles live.
Yes.
Okay, but that's what's happening in freestyle world, and of course, Red Bull Street Style is just 3 weeks out now, so that
Yes.
will be of course the culmination of the year. But I think we can dive into the topic of the today's episode, which is creativity.
Yes. So I think before we get our guest introduced, I think it is first interesting to look at the concept of creativity. Like, creativity is something that everybody knows, maybe not everyone has or has. I don't know. We can discuss it later. But if you go to Wikipedia and you just search for creativity, it says creativity is a phenomenon whereby something new and valuable is formed. The created item may be intangible, such as an idea, a scientific theory, a musical composition or a joke, or a physical object, such as an invention, a literary work, or painting. So that is basically what creativity is they create something new and valuable. So yeah, do you think that relates to freestyle, that definition?
Um, yeah, valuable especially
Yes.
because without creativity, freestyle didn't have so much value. I dare to
So,
say
so,
that.
and then my second question is it valued enough? We can talk about it with our guests because that's maybe an issue or not, but we can talk about it later. Um, yeah, well, let's not get too deep into much into it between us because I think the real experts are waiting backstage to talk about it. So maybe we
Yes,
should invite someone to our chat.
yes, I strongly agree. Our first guest is coming from United States, United States, and he's been on the stage of Super Bowl a couple times. It would be, of course, Mr. Borgetti from United States.
Oh yeah. Does it
Let's
feel
go.
weird? Does it feel weird to look at yourself like that or no?
Yeah, it does, especially like without music on the in the video.
Sorry, man. We didn't want to get copyright strikes.
I understand. Can you guys hear me fine?
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, perfectly. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
because I don't have
So-
my headphones, and then there's like construction outside. I just moved, so
Oh, nice, nice. So for the
Yeah.
people that don't know who is Borgetti, aka Mr. Lopez, who are you? Maybe you should tell a little bit about yourself. What do you do? Where are you from? Things like that.
well, like you mentioned, I'm from the U.S. My parents are of Mexican descent, so I'm Mexican. And I'm a freestyler from here. I haven't freestyled as much the past few years, just because of injuries. But I'm hoping to one day come back like properly.
Okay.
Yeah, because you were at Super Bowl. Was it 2019, right? Or
I think I won like 3 years in a row.
yeah, I know, but but the last time you mean was it 19 or 18 or?
I think 19.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
nice. I
before
remember.
COVID. Yeah, for sure.
When you competed in routines, right?
Yes, I did. Yeah,
Nice,
but like
man.
that, I hadn't freestyled in months because I had like an Achilles issue. So I did my
remember, yeah.
routine with never practicing it.
Well, you still got it, man. You still got it.
I actually remember warming up and telling you this, and you were like, "Oh,
Yes.
good luck."
Yes, I remember.
I don't see how that is possible. But just where do you live now exactly?
In Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, yeah, okay, cool.
And what year did you start freestyle?
I think it was, I want to say 2014. It was actually on New Year's 2014. I had been watching like ground moves videos, and then I ran into Red Bull Street Style, and then I just kept watching and watching, and then after months, I was like, okay, let me just, as a New Year's resolution, let me practice 1 hour a day for the whole year.
Oh, nice. That was actually a thought from the beginning.
Yeah, that was how it happened, and I just started practicing, and just went from there.
So did you train every day of the year then?
Maybe not every day, but probably the first few months every day.
Nice.
And it was funny. I would train inside my parents' bedroom. It's because they had a lot of space with like socks and just like not even a real soccer ball. It was like a little like rubber ball.
Yeah. Okay.
So
And did you also start it with trick shots, or was that coming later?
Actually, I started freestyle first, but I always had the idea of trick shots in my mind. I just figured they were both related in a way. And after doing freestyle for a bit, then is when I got into the trick shots. But the trick shots became much more popular, like quicker.
Yeah, viral.
Yeah, viral.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So that's our first guest. Let's not get into the creativity part yet, but maybe we should get someone else here.
Yeah. Just before we get our next guest in, is it a new thing you write your name with 3 T's? Because I can see it's Borgetti.
Yes. Why is that?
I think it's because on Instagram it just wasn't available with 2 T's, which is like the proper way.
Yeah.
And it just became habit to just do 3 T's.
But it's not your last name, because your last name is Lopez, no? Or
yeah, no, it's not. It's just that was my nickname growing up.
Where does it come from, man?
From a Mexican soccer player.
Right.
They couldn't say Adalberto in practice, and then in practice, my soccer team, they couldn't say my name, and then one day I did this thing that like Borgetti, the professional, had done like this past weekend, and they were like, "We're gonna call you Borgetti," and it just stayed.
It sticked. Nice.
All right. Well, let's get the next guest line, who's actually this guy is for the diehard Freestyle TV fans. You know this guy already. Wonderful freestyler from Kazakhstan, which is basically on the other side of the world from US. It would be who else than Nurs.
Hello, guys.
Nice. Well, that was some hardcore freestyle right there. Welcome to the show, Nurs.
Hello, guys. Nice to see you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you, man.
I can hear him, but it's a little bit of lag.
How are you guys?
Good,
well,
thanks.
here.
Good, thanks. How are you? I think it's a little bit lagging, PeGe.
Yeah. Well, good to have you. Good to have you with us, Nurs. With further ado, let's not take too much time before we introduce our next guest, who comes from even further, all the way from Japan, where it's something like 2 a.m. right now. Welcome to the show, Leon.
Peace, shalom, salam, worldwide. I say peace when I jump on a beat. I say peace when I'm walking the street. I say peace when the sun's in the east. I say peace when I need a release. I say peace when I'm facing the beast. I say peace when I'm taking you deep. I say peace cause I know I'm complete. I say peace. I say peace.
P is for the people, E is for the essence, A is for the answers that we get from God's questions, C is for the conscious, E is for the earth. So everybody gotta stand up and find their worth. A war divided would often fall to disease and violence. Gotta get through the shame and the silence so we can be united. Only the righteous will overcome and become enlightened. Living your life, loving yourself, so let the light in.
One love, one blood and one heart. One people, one world and one God. We're gonna come together, united for one cause. Put your hands up in the air for peace. One love, one blood and one.
Let's
Hey,
go.
hey, hey.
Welcome, Leon.
That's what I'm talking about.
Thanks for having me here.
Of course, what a pleasure, man. Did you notice that at the end of your clip, there was some old man walking with the sword?
I didn't notice that. What?
You didn't notice?
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah. Like it looks like he's came from slaughtering dragons or something like that.
Wait, what? Really? How did I not notice that?
Like a sword?
Yeah, sword.
Oh, I thought you said swirl at first.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I think sword is worse.
Yeah.
Oh, are you checking it out on your phone now? Or?
Yeah, I am.
Well, trust
So-
me, there is a guy with the
Leon.
sword.
Leon, you just said that you just were done practicing. Is that a Japanese thing? Practicing at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning? Because it seems that all Japanese guys do that.
I don't know why, but a lot of Japanese freestylers tend to practice at night. I don't know why though.
Is that because
But-
it's so densely populated? There's no space during the day? It's quieter?
Kind of depends. Yeah, some people that like to practice like on the streets probably do that because it's usually crowded. But I don't know. In my case, I just practice at night because I'm busy during the day. If I don't have time during the day, I just practice during the day. So I don't know. I feel like it just depends on the person.
Yeah.
So maybe we start taking this from the beginning. So just as Borgetti, maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit, where you're from, when did you start, like who is Leon? Like maybe that's a good point to start.
Wait, me?
Yes, you.
Borgetti, right?
No,
Oh,
No,
me,
you.
Okay.
no, they're saying
So,
introduce
Yeah.
yourself like I did.
okay. So I'm Leon from Japan, and I've been freestyling for 9 years, I guess. I think about 9 years. I don't know. Creativity is one of my favorite aspects of freestyle, along with like musicality and style. So it's really I'm really hyped to talk about creativity with you guys because it's such a fun topic. It's such a deep topic as well. There's so many things to talk about. So I can't wait.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically one of those never-ending discussions that is
Yeah.
beautiful, but it's also annoying at times because it feels like everyone has their own little variety or version of what it actually means to them. So that's why I love this topic because it's a real big one. All right,
For
we have
sure,
one
man.
more guest.
Yeah. So before releasing you guys with your creative minds, let's bring one last guy to the stage who was some years ago very well known in the community for his creative freestyle and his introduction clip. Let's put it this way. one trick tells more than thousand words, and that could be no one else than my main man, Roni Lappalainen.
It was a little short, but
Yeah,
Yes,
I
Roni,
missed
welcome to the show. How is it going, man?
it's going well. Thanks for inviting me. It's great to be here with you.
it's been a while, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been.
Oh, you look the same, so you haven't changed yet.
Yeah. When are you gonna get a beard, man?
Yeah, that's the question.
I don't know, maybe a couple of years and then.
Yeah. So now we have all our guests. Roni, just quickly, like, what are you doing these days, and still training, and how's it going in your life?
Yeah, well, I'm studying at the moment. I have been sort of on-off freestyling for maybe 2 or 3 years. We just had a session with PeGe in the summer, so now I would say that I have been training quite recently. So yeah, that's been
Nice.
sort of the thing for a couple of years. But yeah, I still watch a lot of freestyle and still want to keep up with the community. So that's about it.
All right.
Awesome.
So I have kind of a question, which is basically more of a general thing, and whoever wants to answer it can answer it, or just take the lead on this. So, Ronnie, when did you start?
I started in 2009 or 2010.
All right. So you started a long time ago. Leon has been freestyling for a long time, Borgetti as well. Let's say if we take 10 years ago and now, when it comes to the topic of creativity, what has changed? I know it's a big question, but let's just start from there. Like, did anything change? And if yes, what has changed? So who wants to go for it?
Well, I can maybe start with something. Something
Yes.
just comes to the top of my mind like quickly. I was thinking about this today that when I started, that was one of the golden age of the YouTube video like time. People tried to do the YouTube videos with like maybe 20 combos or 30 combos, like 3 to 5 minute videos. And now, of course, for maybe past 5 years, it's been people putting clips to Instagram. So maybe that's have changed a little bit the way that people approach tricks and approach creativity. That comes to my mind like one of the first things.
I think you really
Did you-
start to. Is it cool if I go now? Sorry. Can you guys
Yeah,
hear
go
me?
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
hear you. Sorry,
my
what's the question?
connection was,
Sorry.
sorry, my connection was off for a bit. But no, I was gonna say that something that I noticed is different is that you see a lot more people being creative these days. It's like maybe it's because of the number of freestylers that there's more now, but I feel like there's a lot more inspiration these days. So it's like kind of easier, I would say, in a way, because you have more ideas to build from other people.
I think
Okay.
yes and no. What I see, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one thing I've noticed that there is actually a lot of creativity, but they're not really in the top competitions, which for me is an issue. So it feels a bit like we've created kind of two side streams. The one is the guys that do whatever they want and they're creative, and the other guys are the guys actually competing and make it to the top. And it feels like somewhere along the way, it sometimes disappears, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think one thing about that is that creativity is just like one of the main aspects, right? You still have
Yes.
like other things that are judged, like control, execution, performance, all around. So creativity is really just one of the aspects, and a lot of people seem to value it like equal to the others, which is why sometimes you don't get these top guys like making it to the top in competitions, because they're mostly focused on one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. Like, how does that work in Japan? Do people, Leon, do people even think in criterias at all in Japan, or did they just do whatever and then they're like, all right, if they like it, they like it. If they're not, they're not. Is that how it works there? Or
I feel like a lot of the Japanese freestylers want to be cool freestyling, so they don't want to do things that make them look uncool, I guess. So that's why we think not just about skill, but we think about fashion, musicality, creativity, things that make that freestyler kind of special, I guess. So it really does depend on the person. People who do like competing do consider the criterias because they want to win. But if there are people,
yeah, for example, sorry to interrupt because I think this is quite interesting. Like for example, someone like Kosuke or in this case Hiroke, do you think they think at home and say to themselves, all right, I have to work on so I can beat Ireland or I can beat Shimo, or is that just, do they think I'm gonna do my thing and if it's enough, it's enough? Or do you think they actually adjust their style to the judging system? Do they do that or not?
I think they're trying to do both. So I think a lot of the freestylers that in Japan that want to compete, of course they do consider the criteria, but at the same time they don't want to become clones of Ireland, for example.
Yes.
Because, well, if you want to win a battle, probably copying Ireland will be the best way, probably the easiest way to win a competition. But the Japanese freestylers think it's not cool to just copy another person because then you're not yourself. So that's why I think we try to keep it balanced. So we try to follow the criterias in the battles, the judging criterias, but at the same time we try to keep our own style creative and try not to copy other people. So we try to like even it out. But I guess it does depend on the person.
Okay. So, if I may drop a question in between here, how do you think a freestyler becomes a creative freestyler? Like, what does it require?
I think you just have to try. Like if you want to make tricks, you'll work for that and you'll end up getting there. If that makes sense. Like if you don't try to make tricks, it's much less likely that you'll end up creating something new because you're not really thinking about it and like being open. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think sort of you can't decide if you're creative or not. It's almost like the community decides which tricks are creative and which are not. So only thing you can do is try to be it. So I think you have to creativity is more about doing or trying to do than actually being creative in the end.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, basically, when you think about trick, you don't necessarily know if it's new because someone might have done it.
True.
And when you post it, then someone might say, "Hey, I did this in 2010," or "That's so easy, even my dad can do that trick," or something. But maybe in the moment you thought that this is actually new and you sort of create it in your mind. So I think that's why you have to think that you have to try to be creative. I think that's in my opinion more valuable than actually being creative in the end, because you sort of can't decide, or it's not you who can decide what is new and what is not, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean, but I also know the other side of that, because I think we've all been here. Like you are at home, you create something really cool in your mind, and then you go to a freestyle meeting and then you see another dude doing your trick. That, for me, that's a really frustrating feeling, because in your own way you're thinking, oh, I did something really cool, and then someone else has done it. I've had that a few times. For me, that was a little bit frustrating, but I fully agree with what you're saying.
I think that could be a good thing, actually, when someone does an idea that you had.
Yeah.
Because I think there's like levels to creativity. Like I don't think all creative tricks are equal. So if someone else came up with the same concept, then it's likely that it wasn't very high in like creative level. That's what I think, at least. Because if something's like really, really creative and like looks cool and is like really out there, you probably won't see someone else do it.
But usually it's not because it's so creative. It's more because then the difficulty is higher, I guess. But yeah.
Adding on to
Or-
Borgetti, can I? Sorry. So I think if a person creates a single creative trick, then there is a chance that other people are doing it. But I think people that are really creative create a completely create their original style, not a trick. So
Yes.
I don't know, like I think most of the guys here have their own style. I mean, of course they have a lot of original tricks, but their style itself is completely original. And that makes it something that people can't really copy or do. So I think that's something really valuable. Someone who has an original style instead of just one original trick. Because I think a lot of people have tricks that they think, well, maybe it's not original, but a trick that they will call it an original trick. But there are many people that have a complete style for themselves, yeah. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm happy you touched on the style subject, because I feel like it's also I was talking with this I think with Mehul some time ago from Flare 20. Shout out to Flare 20. That there's a guy who uses tricks that someone else has done in the past, but the way they combine these tricks, it's not that you copy all the tricks from one people. You see a cool trick from Borgetti, you see a cool trick from Leon, you see a cool trick from Ronnie, and you go and combine these tricks in your way. So when one big keyword has been thrown out there, which is biting. So how do you feel about that when someone like uses other people's tricks, but combines them in their own way? How do you feel about that? Is that creative or is it not?
Kind of depends on how they use it, but in my case, I'm not against that. I mean, I would say it's okay as long as they arrange it in their own way, I guess. Because I don't know, in my case, I have a lot of tricks that I thought up of, which I was inspired by other people. I saw people, my freestylers friends, doing tricks, and then I saw that and I'm like, oh, maybe I can arrange that in my own way. And then I thought up of tricks from there. I think a lot of freestylers have the same experience. And I don't know, I mean, if it's not completely the same, I think it's okay. Because I think inspiration is something very important in terms of creativity. So yeah, I mean, I would say it's okay to some extent.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I think nothing ever happens in a vacuum. So you always build on something, and you always get ideas from somewhere. But yeah, I think one of what I think is interesting question related to this as well, something that I have been thinking and I don't have answer to, is like when a trick becomes sort of common ground that anyone can take it and build something on it, or when is it biting? Like, is there a time limit, or is it when enough people have been biting it, so it's like basic trick? These are the questions that I have been thinking about, and I don't know if there's answer to it. Probably not.
Me too, because usually people, I see this a lot online. Like, for example, just to give you an example, like if you do a block trick and it's creative, then you're not supposed to touch it. But if Luca does a new lower trick, then it's for everyone allowed to do it because it's lowers. It's weird in a way, no? He's the only one that ever does these lower tricks. But because it's lowers, it's open ground. Does that make sense? That's for me. That's a bit sometimes. So where do you draw the line? Like, so that's a little bit also what you're saying. Like, if enough people have done it, or in this case, if it's lowers, then it's like more accepted. Maybe that's the word. I don't know, but it's a fine line sometimes. Like, what you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I don't have an answer to it, but it's just an interesting observation that
but
It happens like that.
there are multiple tricks in history that have gone through that like common ground thing that you and Ronnie were talking about, like
Yes.
not lowers, of course, but the first trick, a very clear example that comes to my mind is Eclipse. At first, there was like Vasek and PWG doing it, and when everyone got a grasp of it, it became very quickly mainstream.
Yes.
But Borgetti, you were about to say something.
Yeah, sorry, it's because my mic has been muted for a while. Like they said, the host has muted your mic. But
Yeah.
talking about like how it's usually okay for people to copy lowers and not other tricks. I think it's frowned upon, or not frowned upon for lowers, because it's kind of like a numerical thing, like numbers. Because if you think about it, like you can count like revolutions, right? Like the whole
Yes.
concept of lowers is revolutions, and so with lower tricks, you're not really, like, everyone has already established stealing that concept of revolutions. So I think just the fact that lowers is more of like the sport aspect, where you can really like really visually see who's better. I think that's why it's like it's okay, I guess, or people don't care about it.
Yeah. I was just looking the comment that Herman said. Can you show that comment again?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting what he said. He said doing a new lower trick is often not so creative, just really, really hard, which is why Luca's the first to do it, for example. Yeah, I think that's a very good. That's probably one of the reasons. Yeah, because it's more from a technical standpoint than a creativity standpoint.
Yeah, because I think, for example, everyone right now can say, "Oh, do a four revolution," right? Like everyone has the idea in their head, the idea is so simple, just because it's so obvious. But to do it is a whole different thing.
Yeah, definitely.
About lowers, just real quickly, I think my point of view to that is that in lowers, the tricks are usually it's like with your right or left leg, you do inside or outside revolution, and you do either two or you do either one or three or something like that. So there's always like, you kind of always see the next step of the lowers, like thinking about Tuzani ATV, very basic trick. Tuzani ATV, what's the next step, you know? But one, I want to bring up, like, let's think of some creative lower freestylers, if there are such. The first two persons that come to my mind are Luki and Brynjar, because those two guys have done lower combos that have rather creative aspect to it. Of course, a lot of difficulty also. But what do you think about that? Is creativity possible in lowers, and would you like to see more of it?
It is definitely possible, because I think you forgot Josh Sanders.
Right, yeah. My main man, Josh Sanders. Did all the tricks that I visualized that I would do one day.
Yeah, and I think even like someone like Josh is doing lots of like heel stuff and different movements that are not so basic lowers, but even in the basic lowers, you have someone like Tom Folan who used to do tricks in order that no one else would do. So even that would be something like really creative in my mind, even though he used the tricks that were quite basic at times, but in an order that no one else would do. So that was something really fresh and, in my opinion, creative as well.
Very valid point. Now, because this is creativity episode, and I can see from the statistics that as soon as we started talking about lowers, we lost like 50% of the viewers or something. I just want to wrap this up with a statement that I think Luki made like 5-6 years ago, is that people use basically just 10% of all the lower tricks that are out there.
Yes.
Okay, but
I have one topic which is very interesting. In general, do you guys think that creativity during competitions is underrated? Because it feels for me sometimes that no matter what you do, it doesn't matter how cool it is, how creative it is, how stylish it is. It feels like the hardest stuff, 9 out of 10, always wins. Do you think it's underrated, creativity in competitions?
To be honest, if you want to win a competition, first of all,
Mm-hmm.
you'll have to think about all the other criterias besides creativity, because creativity is only just one criteria out of a lot of the other ones.
Let me put it different. Maybe I explained it wrong. Let's say you organize a competition. Let's say
Right.
you're the boss of the WFFA, and Leon can decide how to do a competition. Would you rate creativity higher than it is ranked right now? Let me put it that way.
I mean, of course, I like creativity, but I probably keep it the same because that'll be unfair for the other freestylers that value skill more than creativity, difficulty more than creativity. So, I mean, yeah, of course, I do want to see a lot of the creative freestylers win in competitions, but at the same time, I feel like I guess that's life because I mean the criteria are. I mean, it's not only about creativity because I mean I feel like it's okay to have competitions that value creativity more. I think there should be variety in competitions. Maybe there should be a competition where only creativity is the only criteria. The only judging criteria is the only judging criteria is difficulty. The only judging criteria is musicality. I think there should be many types of competitions, and that way, I think many freestylers will come into the scene more and win more competitions. It won't only be the usual freestylers that win competitions that will keep winning. There'll be other freestylers that were underrated on the top of the podium now. Podium if there's many other types of competitions. So, yeah, I think there should be a more variety of competitions. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good point about having different kind of competitions. But I'd also say, well, it's easy for me to say because I'm not the guy who competes or is. I'm more into other stuff in freestyle than competitions. So I would say that maybe creativity is something that you don't have to put to the model of competition. I think it's even sometimes hard to say that someone is more creative or you can win in being creative. I think it sort of takes something out of it. It's just about creating stuff. You can't always compare them. Of course, that's like one of the issues in freestyle in general, the subjectivity in the competitions, and it's also the beauty of it. But still, I think you don't always have to compare stuff.
Yeah. That's a good lesson, I would say. You don't always have to compare stuff. I think we do this a little too much.
Yeah. I'm just in amaze of how wise words we
Yeah.
Borgetti, do you have a take on the creativity on competitions matter?
I was going to say that I agree with Leon. I would like to see more creativity from the organizers in tournaments, like different types of tournaments, and like maybe different rules, different time limits, different stuff, right? Competition wise and creativity, I think it's not undervalued anymore. I think it was a few years ago, but these days you really see like Erlen, Brinjar, Kosuke make the finals. Like it's kind of hard these days to not win the tournament without, like it's hard to win the tournament without creativity, I feel like.
Yeah.
But another thing is that I also don't know like if people know how to accurately judge creativity, because there'll be a lot of judges that don't really spend time creating tricks, right? So like for example, me, I feel like I would be a terrible judge in terms of lowers because I don't do lowers. I don't understand it. And there's also a lot of judges that don't understand creativity because they don't do it. So it's hard for them to like rate it, I would say.
You know, if I can add something there, you know what I notice a lot is that people confuse the terminology sometimes. Because sometimes I am sorry, I'll mute you for a second because your mic. I think sometimes the terminology gets confused because sometimes, let's say we have a tournament with 16 or 32 guys and I see one guy that does something else than all the other guys within that tournament, it doesn't mean he's creative, really, does it? It just means that he does a different thing than the other 15 guys, which for a lot of people think, oh, that's the creative guy. But a good judge, in my opinion, should know the origin of the style, as Leon said, not just the trick, but the style, the origin of the style. So you actually should recognize and be knowledgeable about if it's actually creativity or not. But sometimes, for example, the crowd would think, oh, this guy stands out from the others, which is also important, of course. But I think they forget to look at it from a little bigger, if you know what I mean, bigger perspective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if I can follow up to that, and what Borgetti was saying is that if you say that the judges don't know maybe how to judge creativity, what would you say off the record, if you will, how to judge creativity? What do you have to take into consideration when you're judging creativity?
Well, I just from talking to people is where I get the vibe, I guess. But I think most people just see stuff as like either creative or not creative. But like I think it's kind of like difficulty in a way where, let's say, you can judge it on a scale from 1 to 10. Like I think it's the same for creativity. Like not every trick is just a 10 in creativity. Like it varies. So I would just say that I honestly, I think it'd be very difficult to be a judge and judge creativity unless you really like take time to understand and try to create yourself. So it's a very hard question, but so I don't really have like a good answer right now.
Yeah. Okay. Then one other point that actually was in the comments, and I think Borgetti also raised, is that from my point of view, like Borgetti said, you can't be a world champion unless you have some degree of creativity, and that's what we've seen in lately. It's like Erlend is doing basically nothing but the tricks that he has created. Also, they're super hard, so to me it seems like he's impossible to beat. Erlend, who's got the difficulty combined with the style and creativity and originality. So that is a full package. But let's say there's a freestyler, young freestyler, and you guys as masters of creativity, what kind of tips would you give to young freestylers? Like not level of, hey, be more creative, because that doesn't help anyone. But how would you advise some people who want to improve themselves as freestylers to more creative direction, if you will?
I would say to not only watch freestyle football, but to be inspired by other genres as well. Because I mean, yeah, of course it is important to watch freestyle because that's what you're doing. So you can gain some tips by just watching it. But at the same time, your mind will only be limited to what already exists in freestyle. Maybe you can think up of new ideas, but it's limited to it's kind of limited. If you look at other stuff, like in my case, I watch a lot of dance. It can be, I don't know, freestyle basketball. There's a lot of other stuff that exists in this world. I mean, I think some people can even get inspiration from movies or music. I think it's really important to be inspired by many things and get ideas from a lot of directions, because that way you'll have a wider view of the stuff you are capable of doing in your freestyle, and that'll probably make that person a more creative freestyler, I guess.
I think also this is maybe like a question / an observation. I know there are certain freestylers that are considered by other freestyle footballers as very creative, while I know they just copied all their tricks from a certain breakdancer. It's just that they add the ball. And the question is that real creativity? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, I'm not gonna say any names, but there's certain freestylers that have a very good reputation within the community. and they literally told me that all I do is I take this one breakdancer, I copy all their moves, I just add the ball. This is a very popular concept.
I would say it's creative if they use the ball in the right way. For example, let's say, for example, backflip. If a
Yes.
person holds the ball between their legs and does a backflip, that might be a little bit harder than a backflip, but there's not much of a difference between that and a normal backflip. But if they do something completely brand new with a backflip, they I don't know, like for example the Tokura clutch. The Tokura
Yes.
catch, it was completely new back then because no one had the idea of catching a ball while doing a backflip. So I guess in a way it can be original, but they have to use the ball in the right way. If there's no movement with the ball, if they just do a breakdance trick while holding the ball between their legs, that's probably not creative. But yeah, it can be creative if they think well. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think also it's like, because we're talking about freestyle now anyways, and even okay, it's a bit tricky, but I think it's not very creative to copy the moves from a breakdancer and bring them to freestyle, but on the other hand, it is creative to copy moves from breakdance and bring them to freestyle, if you know what I mean. Borgetti, please.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to go back to my point, like I said earlier, like let's say it's a scale from 1 to 10. I just wouldn't rate it very highly, but I still think it's creative. Like you're still taking a concept and bringing it in. So I would say it still has some creativity. I just wouldn't say it's like very creative. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
So if you guys could pick one favorite creative freestyler, who would you pick? All of you, if you can answer it one by one. That's like, who's like an inspiration to you, or
that's this question for me. For me, for sure, it's Fahad Al-Breaki, Ball Star.
Okay.
Nice.
I know a lot of people like dislike him, but what he does.
Who says that? Why do you think? Why do you say that? A lot of people. I've never heard that.
Oh, you just see it online, like everywhere in the comments, and then even in competitions. I feel like it's very known, but also I'm with him a lot, so I've seen it firsthand, I guess. But no, I would say Fahad is definitely underrated, even though a lot of people say he's the most overrated. Because most people, they, without like realizing what's happening, I think most people take concepts of, like, I think this is how most new tricks are made. People take the concept of a trick, like let's say someone does like a slide and like a pancake or something. They'll maybe take the concept of the slide and then make a new trick with that. But what Fahad does is he comes up with completely new concepts that you've not seen before in freestyle. And I think it's really hard to see, but I think he's on another level creative wise.
Yes, but I don't think he's underrated in terms of, I think now we're having two different kind of discussions. I don't think he's underrated in terms of creativity. I think what people mean, I can't speak for others, but what I sense is that people think that it is the thing that I talked about before, is that they rate the difficulty higher. And because his difficulty is relatively low, they probably think he should not win certain battles because it's creativity versus difficulty, which is the most sensitive subject in freestyle, I would say. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I don't think it's a personal thing against Fahad. I think everyone appreciates his creativity. It's more that they think it's not difficult enough. I think that's the issue.
Yeah. Just to touch on that real quick, a little point I wanted to say is I feel like something that's also kind of hard to understand is I think creating new tricks that are difficult is relatively easy. Like, for example, I could just make up something right now. I could say double backflip catch, right? You do 2 flips. Like, it's a relatively easy concept to come up with. But to come up with a new trick that's really easy to do and that looks good, I feel is like really, really hard. And I think it's something that's like hard to really understand, but you don't really see these days people coming up with simple stuff that that everyone can do like within training in minutes, and that people will like. Like I think that's really hard to do, but it's also very low in difficulty.
Makes sense. We were speaking about this earlier today.
Yeah,
So,
Ronnie and Leon, I will ask your inspirations in a minute, but I'm so happy you brought that up because I totally forgot about it when me and Daniel were preparing this episode and watching actually your clip, Borgetti, where you do this, you know this with
worm.
with your legs and the ball goes. I said to Daniel that like that is not the most creative trick in the world, but Borgetti, the way he does it and the way he introduced it, it feels like a creative trick to me, and those kind of tricks give me so much happiness that I know I can do myself, and they are like such a joyful thing in freestyle. Those little tricks that are easy but not very well known. And,
you remember what I said to you? Sorry, remember what I said to you? I said to PeGe, I said it's like one of those tricks when you see them and you think, I could have come up with that, but I didn't. But I didn't. And that's what it's all about. I didn't, but it's so easy. It probably takes 10 minutes to learn, but I didn't. And that's probably what you kind of mean.
That's what I'm getting at, that anyone can do it, but like you don't see people coming up with simple stuff like that everyone wants to copy. Like it's very hard to do that.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right, and there's not really many people who can do that, come up with those simple tricks. And like Flair 20 commented, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication.
Nice one.
Leon, who's your inspiration?
Can I add on to Borghetti's comment before that?
Yeah.
I've been talking with I talked with some freestylers from Japan about simple original tricks. I think yes, as Borgetti said, it's really hard to think up of tricks that are simple and creative. And I think there's so much value to it because, like, for example, I think PeGe, you brought up Eclipse earlier in the live stream, and also like the Yosuke style also. They're really simple tricks that everyone does in the world right now. And I think it's so valuable because now everyone knows Yosuke, for example, right? Because he's the creator of the Yosuke style. It would be really cool if you create a trick that everyone in the world does, wouldn't it? We kind of brought up the topic that we're against copying tricks, but at the same time, it's also cool if everyone copies your trick, because that means you're really inspirational to all the freestylers in the world. So I think people that have tricks that are simple that everyone can do, but it's creative at the same time, I think those people should be valued way more than they are. So I really agree about how Borgetti said that Fahad's really underrated, because that's how valuable his style should be. It's simple and creative at the same time. It's astonishing. It's really cool, his style. Yeah,
beautiful. Beautiful, man. That's all I can say. But who's Leon? If you had to choose one inspirational freestyler, who that would be for you?
Can I bring up two?
Yes.
So there's two people that kind of inspired me to be creative. One is Kuta from Artist Tear. He judged Super Bowl, I think the creativity criteria for Super Bowl as well. He was actually the first freestyler I met about 9 years ago, and I was just training with him often, and he taught me how important creativity and musicality is. And what's amazing about his style is that not only does he create tricks, but he arranges tricks that already exist into his own flavor. So for example, the slap, everyone does the slap, but do you guys
his
know
flow on the slap is crazy.
Yeah, his slap is a little bit weird. I don't know if the weird is the right way to say it, but Kuta's slap is completely like it's his original. It's not like an original trick, but his silhouette, the way he does it is completely brand new. So it's really cool because he thinks a lot about the silhouette of tricks. He tries to think of ways to change tricks that already exist into his own flavor. So that was something that he taught me, and it was mind blowing. It was really cool. So that's one freestyler that really inspired me to be creative. Another is Kazane, and I also practice with Kazane really often. But man, he's crazy. I think you guys already know. That dude is crazy. I don't know.
No
I don't
way.
know. I don't know what's going on in his brain, but way too crazy. I sometimes think up of tricks and then I go practice with him, and he does something harder. I'm like, oh, please stop.
Mm.
I don't know.
Which is never trained before.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I still don't understand how his mind works, but yeah, he definitely inspired me to work harder on my creativity, and he also inspired me to gain inspiration from other aspects. The one that I brought up earlier, like dance and stuff. So yeah, he was a huge inspiration for me.
So did you ever talk to Kazan about it? Like, do you ever like ask, because everyone like knows how crazy Kazan is. Like, just look at
Yeah.
him, man. So
Yeah.
did you ever ask like, so like, how do you think, man? Or did you ever try to get into his head?
I sometimes talk to him about those kind of stuff, but I don't know. He just says like, "Oh, it's all about the vibes, man." He's like, he doesn't really say much. He just, I mean, he's crazy. So
Does it? Yeah.
it's not only his
I love
style;
it.
his personality is crazy as well. So that's just the way it is.
I loved in that around the world thing where he was just trying to sleep all the time. That was hilarious. When he was all the time, "Oh, I'm so tired, I want to sleep." It was funny.
Yeah, he's a hilarious guy.
Well, Ronnie, who are your inspirational freestylers?
Well, I would like to bring up PWG because I think he has been doing creative tricks for his whole freestyle career, which is like, I don't know, 20 years now or something. Maybe not that much, but 50 years at least.
Yeah.
And he has been doing new tricks like all the time. So yeah, I'd like to highlight him. And as well, someone from Japan. I was thinking about this episode, and I was thinking about who were the people who inspired me. There's this freestyler called Yamato. I think some of you know him from like 2010, 2011. I was watching his video from maybe 2011, and it could have been done like 2 years ago, and it could have been like really creative.
Yes.
So he was like 10 years ahead of his time.
You can really clearly see Kosuke got some inspiration from Yamato. You can clearly see it in his style. Very nice.
Okay, guys.
PeGe, who's your inspiration in creativity?
Like all-time most inspirational.
Just throw a name.
Well, I must say also PWG and Holmberg.
Holmberg, old school.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. They like, everyone knows my favorite trick, Sagami, and I saw that first in PWG video, and that, like, when I learned Sagami, it got me thinking. Well, it was also before that Nam the Man also. Nam the Man, like.
Nice.
I don't know if you guys even know Nam the Man anymore.
Yeah.
Or, well, you guys probably do, but most of the people watching or listening to this are like, who's that? Anyways, I never ever forget, like, when I was rookie freestyler, I was watching some Red Bull Street Style World Final 2008, and he did the mega magnetic mix where he stuck the ball to his leg and goes like all over the place, and I was like thinking, that is so freaking cool, man. Like, that is so cool. No one does that, and that inspired me to be creative. And I was thinking, do I dare to say this? But I dare to say this anyways. 10 years ago or something like that, 7 years ago when I was freestyling, let's say my prime, I could have been considered as I wasn't considered as maybe such a creative freestyler, but I dare to say that in 2021, I'm pretty creative freestyler. It's just because
they get out of fashion.
Yeah, and the number of freestylers has grown so much. Like, if you compare the number of freestylers in the world now and 7 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, of course it means that more freestylers do more of the same tricks, and everyone has to go, through the path, and at some point you start to discovering your own way of doing it. But at the certain level, people kind of follow the path, and it's just, you have to follow the path. You have to learn the basics to be a creative freestyler, don't you think?
You mean that you need to be able to do certain basics? Is that what you mean? Or?
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, some might disagree that someone like never does a single ATV, they just go directly to the creative block moves or something.
I do think it helps. I think if you have a basic level, in all areas, that means that you have more possibilities to execute the ideas that you have, I would say.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, Borgetti appears to be saying that he didn't do ATVs, he just went to creativity.
Yeah, I actually did that. I actually practiced lowers for like a few weeks, and then I saw Gautier video, and from there I just skipped basics, just straight to creativity.
Oh, that was crazy. The Gotivity videos. Whoa.
Yeah, that's the ones I saw. But I don't know if it was a good decision of my part to like just skip basics, because I feel like I would have improved a lot faster and had more to work with. So I don't recommend for beginners to just get straight into creativity. I would say learn the basics for sure.
But it's also usually kind of an automatic process, because first I maybe play football or whatever. So you're learning around the world and the next hole. And that's
but Daniel, you've been freestyling probably longer than all the rest of us combined. So it's hard to say. Like, there wasn't so many freestylers even before you, but maybe
you mean in the back in the days? But back in the days it wasn't so creative. But there's many guys I like now.
Yeah,
who I really, really love from Japan?
No.
Is that how you say it? Ocho?
Ocho.
Oh yeah. Ocho.
Oh, crazy, man. And Genki. I love Genki too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy guys. These are two of my favorite Japanese. Sorry?
Genki's going to be competing this week.
He will?
Yeah, he will.
Nice.
Let's go.
But back in the days, it was probably Steve Elias back in the days was my favorite creative freestyler, because he created the swirl and the pancake and all that stuff that we now call basics. But, the slap, the thigh pop, all that old school stuff that Steve created. So the hook, when you do like that, it's like a little swirl, but a real little one.
Yeah. Basically like reverse rake or Somalia move. Yeah.
A little bit like that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So baby Steve, in the old days.
Okay. Well, hey guys, what an absolute pleasure this has been. I think we could go on
for hours.
2 more hours about this. But it's like 3 a.m. for Leon and Borgetti, it's dinner time or something.
I'm completely fine. I'm going to be awake for like 2 more hours anyways.
Yeah.
So what do you do during? You don't have to work, I assume, in the morning.
I'm still a student actually, so.
Oh, nice.
And I'm done with all my classes, so I don't have anything to do.
Okay. Just training. Actually, that's a freestyle life.
Yeah.
There's a competition this weekend, so I'm preparing for that.
Yeah. You can catch up on the previous Freestyle TV episodes.
For sure.
Any great final words from anyone?
I'd like to say that it's kind of disrespectful to talk about creativity but not mention Mikrik.
Yeah, in a way it is. You're right, man.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention him real quick because he deserves it,
Totally.
He's one of the many kings of creativity for sure.
Yes.
If not the king. Very debatable, but
yeah. We could do a full new 2-hour show on who's the king of freestyle. In creativity.
I have like 10 questions right now.
Which video was crazy? Yeah. You know, you guys saw his glitch video, right?
Crazy.
Oh yeah.
That was mind blowing.
One of
And
the
he
best
makes his
videos
own
ever.
music as well.
It's crazy.
That is truly creativeness. Ronnie, any good final words?
Well, I was just thinking that you need to do this episode again and ask Mikrich to come here and answer these questions, and I want to hear what he has to say about this.
Yeah. Well, actually, Daniel, maybe we could reveal.
Yes.
Okay, unfortunately, it's maybe not decided yet, but it will 100% come. The old school Poland episode. Let's go!
Yes. So we're gonna do an episode with all the old Polish legends: Shimo, Michwitz, Luki, Skora. We're gonna invite them all and bring them all together because I don't think they've ever been together in one talk ever. So
Yeah,
we're gonna
that is
do it. We're
crazy.
gonna do it.
And yeah, like if I had to say also one inspiration, Polish freestylers are one single unbelievably huge inspiration on all aspects of freestyle.
Yes, man.
Okay. Anyways, unbelievable, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for all the people watching in Twitch and Facebook and YouTube and all over the place. Shout out to Flare20 TV for having us on your channel. Remember to follow the WFFA. Remember to follow I'm a Football Freestyler. Follow Leon. Follow Ronnie. Follow Borgetti. Follow PeGe. Thank you, Daniel. Amazing episode. Have a great night, guys.
Thank you. See you guys.
So yeah.